Hi, and welcome to something a little different from White Noise. For anyone who doesn't already know, the creation and entire production of our podcast has existed inside the pandemic, and unfortunately, it's the pandemic that has put a hold on our 2021 Highlights podcast episode. However, we didn't want to end the year in silence, so we decided to put together some of our favourite bits from 2021, sprinkled with a couple from the end of 2020. So, we hope you enjoy, and we can't wait to speak to you all again in the new year. We didn't want to go crazy and go like full dress up because that's just too obvious.
I'm also going to blame it on the fact I couldn't get a good costume in time, so red lipstick will do for me.
I mean, bless Lyanna, like I was lucky because we're at my flat, but like Lyanna had to travel with all her equipment, so like don't come for her just because she has like
the camera right now is sat on a tripod, which I forgot the clip bit too, so it's got scrunchies around it. This is very like mishappy, misshapen, but we've made it work. This had to happen.
To be honest, that's been this whole podcast.
Oh god, yeah.
Like the amount of times that, like I said, the first one just didn't get released, and then there was a year between that Suspiria one and then actually recording the first official podcast.
That's mad.
We haven't even mentioned that yet.
The rabbit's kidney.
Yeah.
Was that the first thing we mentioned?
The rabbit's kidney?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was. We talked about it because it's part of the hazing. Go through your little notes.
Oh, I haven't been reading my notes in order at all. I'll cut this bit out. And most of the films that we have like all like listed that we want to like scream about tonight are, yeah, I'd say they're rife with subtext. Some of them more obvious than others. And I think probably the film we're going to start diving into first, I think I'd say The Lost Boys, and that is the most obvious one, I think, aside from maybe Nightmare 2.
Oh, says the girl that messaged me a few months ago and went, how did I not know The Lost Boys was gay?
Okay, wait. No.
Getting called out.
This is out of context. This is me before finding out that Joel Schumacher was gay. If I had known that, things may have been different.
Anyone who's watching the YouTube video, we did try and make an effort today with our costumes. I don't know if it's weird if we just don't acknowledge it, but if anyone has ever wondered what the budget for White Noise is, this is it.
It's a makeup budget.
It is. It's a makeup budget.
This episode's going to be a bit... Okay, wait. Okay.
This episode's going to be a shit show.
I think that might become the case for like Irish speakers doing Scottish and Scottish doing Irish. That like it's so similar they accidentally slip into their native one and don't even realise.
I'm really sorry, my microphone just fell over.
This is the problem now with everybody being able to access.
I think everyone listening and Skye should watch Old Boy. Oh fuck my phone. And they're kind of almost like pitted against each other, like still to this day. I think it's exhausting to see, so this is quite refreshing.
Sorry, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm trying to think of where to move to next.
Stephen King doesn't know what he's talking about. He says, I never intended for them to be gay. I'm like, well, you were also doing mountains of coke, so you don't know what you were talking about.
Apple sours that I was drinking during the St. Patrick's Day episode.
So I love that.
It's fermented.
I love that. Oh, fuck me.
The idea that like the popular girl in school wants to smash the dealer, oh my god, it's just breathtaking. It really is. Like I don't know, I just think like it's the most 90s noughties thing in the world.
Definitely, because I don't get it.
I
didn't understand.
Yeah, like I just think
why
it's just so funny to me that like, you know, you like, oh fuck, how are we gonna solve this lycanthropy thing? I know, call the weed guy. Like it's just
yeah, it's true.
Like, there's just something about Dorian Gray, like, it sounds so tacky, but I can see a producer pitching it, like, rock star storyline, you know, he can stay young forever, it's Dorian Gray, like, that just seems like a film waiting to happen if it hasn't already happened. And
Lyanna, I love that.
Excited.
That's okay, so anybody listening to this, if you're into film, or even Lyanna, please do this. Can you please make me a rock star version of Dorian Gray?
Is about to open up the notepad and log into AO3.
Expose me on the podcast.
No, we're all AO3 readers here, it's fine. It's a safe corner
safe space.
of the internet.
Kurt and Blaine's storyline literally became a fan fiction, because like I said, you've never seen it, but there was like a whole section of them getting trapped in an elevator, Saw style, and
in the
forced to
Sue
kiss
voice, wasn't it?
for the sake of Sue's entertainment. And I was like, am I on drugs? This is happening? Like, I swear, like I was totally sober during the time I was watching that, and yet I still can't believe it was wrong. I even rewatched the episode today to make sure I wasn't like misremembering stuff, and I was not.
So Park Chan-wook, who did The Handmaiden and Vengeance trilogy, he has a film called First. Song, have you seen it?
Yeah,
you have.
I watched it with my dad. It was on Film 4, and we just like put it on one night, and I was like,
what about the bit where he's like biting her thigh?
Yeah. It was all there.
With the new film coming out next year and the trailer recently coming out, it just seemed like perfect time to talk about Scream. So obviously the best place to start is with the first film. And Skye, I know you're nervous, but I'm throwing it over to you because you recently watched it for the first time.
So I'm very right.
First time.
Listen. Okay, I am very much prepared to be the third wheel in this episode.
A lot of the films that we've talking about are very much considered too taboo to really delve into, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, people have seen them, but people don't necessarily make videos or podcast episodes about.
Yeah, that's true. There was only one that I actually couldn't even finish the Wikipedia.
Which one was that?
A Serbian film?
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd heard the name before, but I literally had no idea what it was about, and I started reading it, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
You wouldn't have seen the Old Boy remake, would you? It's word
for
word, it's devoid of like grittiness.
I've seen some, since I've now watched Old Boy, which we'll get back to in a minute, because Lyanna, what the fuck? So I'd never seen it before. I actually knew nothing about it.
Should we give a brief synopsis?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, I'll try my best. It is brutal. It's essentially about a man that is hidden away for years, and he wants to take revenge when he gets out, and he's looking for his daughter. I don't really want to say much more than that, because if it's not been ruined for you, you should go blind, because it's fucking insane. I went in blind. I went in so blind. But yeah, I watched it, and I had to just sit with myself for a bit afterwards. I was like, don't you like, what did I just watch?
Yeah, because it was one of those films where I was watching it and I was like, this is not gonna go where I think it's gonna go, and I'm gonna hate myself for thinking that it went this way and then it went that way, and I hated myself even more.
Have you ever seen Audition?
I haven't, but I'm just thinking about you bringing up Itchy the Killer. You are a terrible person, because you made me watch that sleepover, and you just casually put it on like it was nothing, and like everybody was like chatting and just like kind of half watching the film, and I was just there like horrified, absolutely horrified.
Even if the sequel wasn't very good, you can still say that other stuff was greatly inspired by Rocky Horror.
Oh yeah, hugely.
And I'm not just talking about the Glee episode. Yeah. You know? And I don't necessarily mean like, this character was influenced by this character, but just like the campiness of Rocky Horror has gone on to inspire so many other musicals and other people. We were talking last night about that kind of world of film, and like, what would you even call it? Like, gritty campness. We were talking about John Waters. Like, I don't know if he was inspired by Rocky Horror or Rocky Horror was inspired by John Waters, but they're just linked in my head.
Or just of the era.
Yeah, and then consider as well, this is something we've not talked about yet, John Waters is so intensely known in the queer community for featuring LGBTQ plus people, and like obviously Divine. Rocky Horror is such a statement amongst the LGBT community. Yeah. That's something we've not even touched upon yet.
That's actually such a good point, because some fuckers out there would be like, just a couple of besties. Yeah. They would. People deny it so much. You get these characters in so many shows and films and just any piece of media which are so obviously gay. And the power of denial is immense. You're so right that they really did have to go the entire way just to be like, this is gay.
That's I mean, the first on my list is not even the one I thought was going to be first on my list, because mine's Anastasia.
That makes sense.
The animated film, because that was the one that, like, first of all, obviously started my unhealthy love of enemies to lovers, but also I was just watching it like, I don't know who I fancy more, Do I fancy him more? Do I fancy her more? Do I want to be her? Do I want to be him? I don't understand. And then I actually kind of realized, thinking more about it, that was probably just the case with so many like kids films growing up that had that kind of relationship, like any Disney film, which just makes me laugh when people say stuff like, oh, we can't have same-sex couples in animated films because it will confuse the kids. And I'm like, you had straight couples and this kid was still confused.
And also when Suki like contacts her people from home, they don't even question it. She's just like, oh yeah, so this rich Japanese woman that I'm conning, turns out we're gay and we're going to run away together. They're like, sick, how can we help?
I love the idea that that's exactly what the letter said that she sent to them.
Turns
out I'm hella gay.
She's only just learned how to write Hangul. She's just like, how do you say like... hella? How do you write hella?
Oh my God. I love that. We have no proof that wasn't the case.
Way back in our Ginger Snaps episode, we ended up talking a lot about emo culture, and both me and Lyanna grew up during that era, and are very much now reliving what we were bullied for in school is now the cool thing and part of our lives.
That's another thing I do want to talk about in a minute, Skye, is friggin' Gen Z bringing shit back that I was bullied for. Not to go like old curmudgeon, but yeah, that's going to be a thing in a minute. Go on. I agree with you, and I think most people would. And I personally couldn't even tell you how early it was for me. I don't know how young I was when I just like assumed that all vampires were gay, but I do now.
I think it's because of the idea that obviously because vampires aren't human, they surpass kind of the human needs. Like they have their own needs, they have needs that we wouldn't even understand. And I think it comes from the idea that once you reach that level of being, you just don't care anymore.
You just try a little dick.
You're just like, you know what? I'm here for a long time and a good time now.
This is when we find out that the Cullens had something else going on.
Oh, separate podcast.
Well, separate podcast, just what was happening between the Cullen men.
Yeah. Just to dissect what was going on behind those doors.
Oh my Christ.
Most of the major aspects of the film borrow from queer experiences. Like there's a lot of drag elements. I mean, look at Frankenfurter.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things that we also spoke about, is that like, so I am a queer woman, but like there's something about Frank and like Tim Curry as him that even I'm like, that like people think that film gives them gay panic. That film gives me straight panic because I see him, he's not meant to look feminine. He is meant to look like
he is a man.
Are you a friend of Jennifer? Like, because Jennifer's body, I feel like, just became an umbrella term for the queer community.
God,
like,
that's
even
a tweet if I ever heard one.
Didn't want to come out as queer, you just be like, you go up to someone, it's like, have you seen Jennifer's body yet? Did you like it? Yeah, okay. We know this is what we want to do, and I think we'll keep trying until we get it.
Exactly. I thoroughly enjoy doing this, and I really hope other people enjoy listening, and I hope you enjoy doing this too.
A moment.